humanity never meant to enter a galactic empire. The survey ship Wayfarer Blue was designed for quiet work, mapping radiation shadows and cataloging dead systems where nothing larger than a microbe was expected to exist. Its crew of 12 scientists and engineers treated the mission like extended camping with better coffee. On the 42nd day beyond Mapu space, the ship passed through what the navigation computer labeled as an empty gravitational lens. The crew barely noticed the brief flicker in the stars, assuming it was a sensor hiccup. Moments later, the void exploded into light. Thousands of ships surrounded them, layered in precise geometric formations that made the human pilots blink in disbelief. No alarms screamed, no weapons powered up. Captain Mara Ukbal took a slow sip of her drink and asked if anyone else was seeing the impossible armada outside the hull. The silence on the bridge stretched until the Zonalunguastuck's officer muttered that this was either first contact or a spectacular hallucination. Before panic could bloom, a transmission arrived, complex and resonant, vibrating through the hull itself. The computer translated it after a pause, declaring that the Wayfarer Blue had violated sovereign imperial space and must submit to inspection. The captain shrugged, straightened her uniform, and replied politely that the intrusion was accidental and that humanity would appreciate directions back to the quiet nothing they came from. That answer confused the Empire more than any hostile act ever could. The galactic dominion of Vuthrox spanned thousands of species and millions of years. Every civilization within it had entered through conquest, surrender, or ritualized submission. None had ever wandered in by mistake. The humans were escorted, gently but firmly, to an imperial customs station the size of a small moon. Alien officials with crystalline skin, feathered crests, and mechanical augmentations stared as the human crew disembarked. The humans stared back with mild curiosity, noting architectural efficiency and surprisingly clean corridors. When ordered to kneel, Captain Ukbal apologized and explained that human knees were unreliable under stress. The guards hesitated, consulting manuals that did not account for such behavior. Imperial analysts scanned the humans for psionic potential, bioengineered traits, or concealed weapon organs. They found caffeine addiction, sleep deprivation, and an unhealthy tolerance for existential dread. Instead of terror, the humans asked logistical questions. Was their food compatible with mammalian digestion? Could they recharge fusion cells? Was there a gift shop? The Empire prided itself on inspiring awe. Instead, it received polite interest. During interrogation, the humans were shown holograms of Imperial war fleets annihilating rebellious worlds. The display was meant to demonstrate consequence and power. The engineer, known as Lars, commented on the efficiency of the orbital bombardment pattern. A biologist asked whether planetary ecosystems ever recovered afterward. The interrogator paused, uncertain how to proceed. When informed that resistance was futile, the humans nodded and said that was fair. They explained that Earth history included empires rising and falling, global wars, near-extinction events, and daily commutes. Perspective, they said, was everything. The Empire attempted intimidation through psychic pressure. The humans responded by asking if the headache was normal or if they should hydrate. Rumors spread through the station. These newcomers did not revere the Dominion. They did not hate it either. They simply treated it like weather, something vast, unavoidable, and occasionally inconvenient. The turning point came during a diplomatic reception. Imperial nobles expected ritual praise and carefully measured fear. Instead, the humans brought stories. They shared tales of absurd survival, of laughing during disasters, of finding humor in annihilation statistics. One human played music on a stringed instrument, slow and melancholic. Another told a joke about accidentally emailing the wrong galaxy. The hall filled with confusion, then something unprecedented, empathy. An elder noble asked how humans endured a universe that did not care whether they lived or died. Captain Akbal answered that caring was optional, but cooperation was useful. The Empire began to realize that these beings were not strong because they ruled. They endured because they adapted emotionally as fast as they adapted technologically. After weeks of observation, the Dominion concluded that humanity was dangerous in an unexpected way. Not through aggression, but through normalization. An empire built on reverence could not survive prolonged exposure to people who treated gods like carcas. The humans were quietly escorted back to the edge of imperial space. Before departure, the Dominion offered trade, protection, and eventual integration. Captain Akbal declined politely, saying humanity was still figuring itself out. As the Wayfarer Blue slipped back into uncharted darkness, an Imperial observer asked what humans would report about the Dominion. The captain smiled and replied that it was impressive, well-organized, and slightly too serious. Back on Earth, the official report labeled the incident as an unexpected detour with potential future neighbors. No monuments were built, no panic spread. Humanity returned to its routines. Somewhere in the vast Imperial archives, a new warning was added. If humans arrive, do not threaten them, do not worship them, and do not expect them to be impressed. The Galactic Dominion believed the incident was concluded. The humans had departed, the navigational anomaly was sealed, and official records classified the encounter as a low-probability curiosity. Empires were excellent at filing away uncomfortable anomalies. For a time, everything returned to order. Then the quiet consequences began to surface. It started with duckwalkers, station personnel who had overheard humans chatting casually about stellar collapse while eating nutrient bars began asking questions that were not in their manuals. Why did the Dominion expand endlessly if survival was already secure? Why fear dissent if chaos was statistically inevitable? Why did humans laugh when confronted with annihilation projections? No answers satisfied them. An analyst cast member rewatched the interrogation recordings for the 50th time. He noticed something deeply unsettling. At no point did the humans seek validation from authority. They did not plead for safety. They did not boast. They simply assumed their right to exist without permission. That assumption had never appeared in Dominion psychology models. Within months, phrases translated from human speech entered informal use. Phrases like "it is what it is," or "could be worse," or "we will deal with it later." The Dominion's cultural stability metrics began to fluctuate. Meanwhile, far from imperial borders, humanity carried on. The Wayfarer Blue crew returned to Earth to mild academic applause and a great deal of paperwork. The story was shared in conference rooms, not headlines. Humans debated whether the Empire was a threat, a future ally, or simply another cosmic neighbor. Most concluded it was all three, and none of them urgently. Then the second accident occurred. A civilian cargo vessel, retrofitted and stubbornly old, drifted into the same gravitational anomaly. Its captain was hauling frozen fish protein and cheap entertainment modules. When the stars rearranged themselves and Dominion patrol ships appeared, the captain sighed. He opened a channel and asked where he had ended up this time. The patrol commander froze. This was not a sanctioned first contact scenario. This was a delivery ship with a dented hull and music leaking through open comms. Protocol demanded immediate containment. Instead, the commander hesitated, remembering archived warnings. The human cargo ship complied with all instructions. It did so cheerfully. Its crew asked whether local regulations allowed recreational drones. They offered spare engine parts without being asked. They complained mildly about customs delays. Word spread quickly. This was not an isolated human oddity. This was a pattern. Dominion strategists convened emergency councils. If humanity spread through the empire not by conquest, but by normalization, hierarchical reverence would erode. If citizens began treating imperial edicts like traffic laws instead of divine law, control would weaken. The empire had survived wars, rebellions, and plagues. It had never faced casual coexistence. Attempts were made to study humans more closely. Observation teams were dispatched to the edge of human space. They watched Earth broadcasts, entertainment, news, and arguments. They observed humans debating existential threats while cooking meals. They saw humor layered over fear, cooperation layered over conflict. They noted something alarming. Humans practiced emotional redundancy. No single belief carried the full weight of meaning. A Dominion philosopher summarized it best. If a god fails, humans replace it with routine. Soon, fringe Dominion citizens began requesting cultural exchange visas. They wanted to see Earth. They wanted to understand why a species so statistically insignificant radiated such disruptive calm. The Empire denied most requests. That only increased curiosity. Black market translations of human literature circulated. Stories where heroes doubted themselves. Where survival did not require destiny. Where meaning was created locally and temporally. Dominion youth found these stories intoxicating. One young noble secretly played human music during sleep cycles. The irregular rhythms unsettled him at first, then comforted him. It sounded like persistence without triumph. The Empire attempted containment through information suppression. That failed. You cannot erase a concept once it has been felt. Meanwhile, humans noticed something odd. Trade probes returned with unfamiliar gifts. Art objects, navigational data, philosophical treatises encoded as star maps. Someone in the Dominion was communicating indirectly. A joint human council convened. Not out of fear, but curiosity. Humanity debated whether it had accidentally destabilized a civilization. Some felt concern. Others pointed out that destabilization implied fragility. Empires, they argued, should be able to survive perspective. The third encounter changed everything. A Dominion vessel crossed fully into human space. It did not arrive in battle formation. It arrived broadcasting a request. Not a demand, not an ultimatum. A request for dialogue without ceremony. Earth responded within minutes. The meeting took place in neutral orbit. No flags, no dramatic lighting. Just representatives and translators. The Dominion envoy spoke carefully. It admitted something unprecedented. The humans had introduced uncertainty into imperial certainty. The envoy asked how humans lived without believing themselves central to the universe. A human sociologist answered that they did believe it sometimes, then corrected themselves later. The envoy asked how humans faced extinction scenarios without paralysis. A human engineer replied that paralysis was inefficient. The envoy asked what humans wanted. The room fell quiet. Then Captain Iqbal, present as an observer, spoke. She said humans wanted room to make mistakes without being annihilated for them. That answer rippled through Dominion consciousness networks. Mistakes without annihilation. The concept spread faster than any rebellion ever had. Within the Dominion, small administrative changes began. Punitive measures softened. Local governors allowed procedural flexibility. Productivity dipped briefly, then stabilized. Innovation increased. Imperial historians noticed something terrifying. The empire was becoming resilient. Not through fear, but tolerance. The High Dominion Council faced a choice: reassert absolute control and risk cultural fracture, or adapt. They chose adaptation. Not loudly, not ceremoniously. Quietly, bureaucratically. The most imperial way possible. Humanity was designated a non-subjugable cultural catalyst. The title confused everyone involved. Trade agreements followed. Open transit corridors were established with minimal fanfare. Humans began appearing throughout the Dominion. As technicians, consultants, artists. They did not dominate. They integrated casually. They complained about climate systems and praised public transit. The empire did not fall. It changed. And humanity did not rise to rule the stars. It remained what it always was: a species that stumbled forward, adjusted, and kept going. Centuries later, historians would argue about the moment the Dominion truly evolved. Some would point to reforms, others to treaties. A few would cite battles long forgotten. But among archivists, a simpler theory persisted. The empire met humans and discovered that indifference to awe could be more powerful than worship. At the edge of known space, the anomaly still flickered faintly. No longer sealed, just monitored. A door left unlocked. In Dominion training manuals, a final annotation was added beneath the original warning. Humans will not conquer you. They will not save you. They will show you that surviving without permission is possible. And for an empire built on control, that was the most dangerous idea of all.